Hello, and welcome to our webinar today. Organizations are evolving to adapt their data architectures to process and analyze their data in real time so that they can make immediate business decisions. But they realize that one of the fundamental challenges with it is that the key business decision makers do not have access to that data at the right time. Real-time data access is locked and protected mostly by elite personnel with special technical skills to extract that data. For such enterprises to truly empower their business decision makers, access to real-time data must be democratized. This requires addressing certain skills gaps in the organization, overcoming certain cultural resistance, and eliminating some technical hurdles. That brings us to the topic of the day: democratizing business insights with Microsoft Real-Time Intelligence. Joining me today is our guest, Itzhak Kesselman, VP of Messaging and Real-Time Analytics Platform at Microsoft. He's here to discuss about Microsoft Real-Time Intelligence, which is part of Microsoft Fabric, and how it enables organizations to liberate access to real-time data for every authorized decision maker. Welcome, Itzhak.
Thank you, Dinesh. Super excited to be here. You can guess that's a topic of my interest and passion. So super happy to be here and chat with you about this.
Of course, of course. So let's start with your perspective on democratizing access to real-time data and business insights. Why do you think that there should be a strong push for that within organizations today?
So it's not my opinion that should be a strong push. I think we are hearing this from customers. So I don't need to tell this, but everybody today can see there is an explosion of data today. And this data mainly comes from IoT devices, sensors, business processes, digital applications. All those generate tons of data. And this data comes mainly as a streaming source in near real time. And now organization has access to a lot of data. But more than that, the advancements in AI and machine learning creates even more demand to utilize this data to generate useful and meaningful and actionable, I would say, insights around this data. So we're hearing a lot of demand from business users and these business decision makers. Hey, I have all this data. Like, I'm paying so much to store all this data, but like, what can I generate out of it? Like, what insights I can use to drive my business forward. And today they're getting some of kind of challenges, both on the technological side from IT and existing tooling out there, but also cultural, how organizations adapt to this high-paced industries and competition out there, which is get tougher and tougher.
Perfect. So I think you said it very well, that it's not just about the technical complexity. I mean, we can definitely dig deeper into it when you talk about real-time data, particularly like, as you said, streams and streams of data coming into the enterprise these days. There is the challenge of volume, there is a challenge of velocity, there is a challenge of variety of data and so forth. So definitely, the technical complexities are there. But beyond that, as you said, there is the challenge about skills gaps. There is the challenge about cultural resistance and so forth. So if we start breaking down these key challenges that organizations face today when it comes to democratizing access to real-time data for their employees, I think they can be categorized into these three buckets, right? Technical complexity, skills gaps, cultural resistance. So can we elaborate on these? Can we go into each one of these and talk about, the challenges that exist today for organizations?
Yeah. Maybe let's start with me personally more interesting one, although I'm a technologist by heart and I call myself a geek. Always loved technology from young age. I've been in the field for more than 20 years. And I think like we as technologists always think about the technological problems and how to solve those. But the reality is that the culture could be more complex and more harder to solve. And I would like to start with the culture one. As I started before, the business decision makers, people that run the business, have a strong demand and desire, and they always had for this data. But with advancements in technology and also with AI and LLMs and the high pace of the digital transformation, the push on the IT organization is becoming more stronger and stronger, and they are less willing to get no as an answer nowadays for this for their business needs. And I would say there is need to be happen a mindset shift, and we are starting to hear that how IT can enable those decision makers. Today, the market for streaming and real-time intelligence is very fragmented. It's very hard to get an end-to-end solution because there's many vendors. They provide a solution to part of the problem, not a cohesive part of the problem. So many organizations, when the IT or the development organization being asked, hey, I need a solution for my business needs. I want to get more actionable insights. I want to get them faster. I don't want to look at the data, which is a day old or hours old or even sometimes weeks old. I want to be able to act now. And I would say even automate some of this and have the human in the middle to oversee this. They are in a bit of coming from a technological concern. That's kind of the second pillar is out, hey, it's very complex for me to provide you an end-to-end solution. Are you willing to invest this amount of money and time needed to build this? Because there is no an end-to-end solution. So now I need to build this in-house. I need to hire highly skilled professionals to build this solution. And what happens, this becomes a very high risk and questionable ROI problem. And that's kind of where this kind of a conflict of minds becomes between the business and IT. But enabling the IT to have a solution that they can use and they can give to the business decision maker and then take it to the next level reduces this risk. And that's kind of we're hearing some of the customers that start to use the solution that they get a reduction of risk. And today, many organizations don't even try to go into space because of the high risk.
I agree. And, as you said, given your long tenure in technology, so have I, in the last, 2 or 3 decades that I've been in the space, this IT business alignment challenge never seems to cease. It's always there, and we are always coming up with newer ways to get them to align and make them work together and so forth. The data silos within the organization seems to only grow more and more. And as you rightly said, technology solutions today solve only part of the problem, whether it be tying in these data silos, but then the solution is so complex that you have to bring in really highly skilled professionals in order to enable the business, which again brings us back to square one. So you rightly said, I think it's not a one-part solution. I think it's a multi-part solution that is needed from a technology platform that can address all of these challenges, not just the technology side alone. So before we jump into discussing, technology solutions for such challenges, can we also talk about some practical applications first? What are some of the industries where you see real-time data being widely adopted or really valued for what it is? And what are some of these use cases?
So it's an interesting question from the perspective that people have a certain, I don't know, bias towards real time. When they hear the word real time, what it means to you, and to everyone it means something else. And I say real time, it's what is a timely manner, what it's important for your business. And from that perspective, the view how I look at real time, I think it's relevant to all vertical of the industries. And I can give kind of few examples of our customers that were shared broadly, and others can hear. I think the first that comes in mind is around manufacturing or sports or motorsports. And it's easily for us to understand, hey, if I'm a manufacturer, I have machines that build stuff, and I need to be able to operate these businesses in a very timely manner. I want to act fast, and I want to adjust to changes and be able to react, which makes sense. But there are other industries that's interesting to mention that are getting more and more into real time. Industries like airlines. There is a lot of customers that use our solution in the airline space, like a booking, gates tracking, luggage tracking. Again, you want to make sure that your luggage arrives to the right plane, and if not, you get notified on time, and not you're waiting at the carousel for an hour plus getting notification, oh, the luggage did not came. We're hearing this from other scenarios like customer 360 scenarios, a few weeks ago, there was Fabric conference in Europe, in Stockholm, and one of the customers that shared on stage their solution, they used real-time intelligence to really drive marketing promotions and sales leads for their business to be able to act on those campaigns in near real time and not to have, at the end of the day, a retrospective of how the campaign is doing. And here we're speaking about like millions and dozens of millions of dollars of potential. And that's kind of my feedback for people and business decision makers and ITs. Real time, it is the future of data. We want to act as fast as we can, and we want to use the technology and the machine learning and the LLMs to help us to operate and automate as much as we can, because we want to be competitive. We want to act on the data which is available for us now and not wait a day or two. And this day or two or even hours, in many cases, or most of the cases, it's a potential loss of a severe monetary loss for the companies, or an issue of regulations. If you take like automotives, if you're doing like fleet management, stuff like that, changes in some regulations, driving patterns can cause our customers to be in non-compliance with local regulations. So it's relevant to all verticals in the industry. And we're seeing this shift across the industries, which more and more verticals of the industry moving, and they have high demand for real-time data.
Yeah, couldn't have said it better, and such a comprehensive set of use cases that you covered across so many different industries. I've been dabbling with real-time data over the last several years, and typically when people talk about real-time data, it's always about, hey, IoT and things like that, that pop to mind. But real-time also means use cases like Customer 360, as you mentioned, but it also applies to something as diverse as manufacturing. Something in manufacturing that I want to point out is that 1 hour of downtime on a manufacturing floor can equate to as much as like $20 million in terms of loss for a manufacturer in the US today. And that's the kind of downtime that people try to avoid by adopting predictive maintenance, using real-time data in order to know when a particular machine is going to go down and how they have to circumvent and work around the supply chain and so forth. So fantastic set of use cases. Thank you so much for explaining that. So let me ask you this. A big ask of democratization is about ensuring that all employees who need to work with data have equal access to it, regardless of how technically adept they are or not. A business user must be able to execute a query and analyze real-time data without having to involve an entire technical team for an assist first, right? If that's so, then platforms that offer solutions in this particular case need to have a rich user experience with a no-code, low-code type of interface for analytics particularly, and that is going to be in high demand, right? So what are some of the common features that I should expect in such a platform? If I'm in the market for evaluating for my organization, what is it that I should look for in such a platform?
So as I mentioned, democratization of data and enabling the business users to act on it, it's the key here. And I think many of the solutions today, they cater to the developer or the data engineer. And for those products to be successful, or for the business to be successful, they need to focus on the main user. And the majority of the users that knows the business context and what's important for them are the business users. And in many cases, they're not most advanced users of the system. So you need to build experiences that cater to them. And also you need to empower them and democratize the data across organizations. So I will start with a few experiences that, in my opinion, are crucial. And that's kind of where Fabric Real-Time Intelligence, in my opinion, shines. Is first of all, you need to give visibility to all this data. Today, many organizations have all this streaming data, but it's siloed. It's siloed within different departments, within very isolated permissions. They're guarded by data engineers that don't give access to this data. And that causes a few things. One, duplication of data, which is a nightmare, and it causes even more security and privacy issues than just sharing it, because you have, I don't know, 20 or 100 or 1,000 sources of truth instead a single source of truth, which is governed by a centrality. So giving access and providing visibility to all this streaming data across the organization, of course, with the proper governance and auditing and visibility, it's crucial. And that's kind of where in Fabric, the real-time hub is a single place for all your streaming and data in motion. And that's something that will enable business users to find the stream of data. So if I'm working in an organization, we use the airline as one of the verticals of those examples. Hey, if I'm a business user and I want to create, I have a business unique need, I need to know, create alerts on gate changes that happens more than 2 times. If I go to a central place, find the stream of data, it's in one place, I can start using it. And that stream of data is the single source of truth across the organization. So there is no 2 streams of gate changes in the organization. And now we have solution built on a single point of data, which is true across the board. And you don't have different solutions built in the organization that provide different outcomes. And so that's kind of one of them. The other one is about be able to analyze and interact with the streaming data. Because it's a complex and high granularity problem, which for humans, we are very powerful, but we are still limited. We like to simplify the problem and downsample it and aggregate it. And we are speaking about high granularity data. We need tools that help us to think about that. So tools that allows you to visually explore the data, to guide you with the co-pilot experiences, to understand the data, to generate insights for you, to recommend anomalies. Those set of features are critical for this space, and that's kind of where it differentiates from batch data or other source data, when people can simplify, they can aggregate, they can downsample data. But in this case, you really want to take the power of the high granularity data, and you want to get this single data point that gives you the insights about the rest. And that's kind of very important for us to enable this for the users.
And sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Dinesh.
I was going to say that, SQL is one of the very natural languages that, people gravitate towards when interacting and aggregating and, working with data. But it is also considered to be a little bit of a challenge when it comes to like business users, because not all business users understand SQL and know to work with it, which then translates to like, them having to use like natural language, and which has become kind of like the order of the day these days, when people are able to say, show me all the sales for the last 3 quarters for this particular region, and so on. And the system is able to interpret that natural language and convert it to SQL behind the scenes, and is able to query with the data and bring forth. Do you see that as a requirement, or like at least a nice to have feature in these platforms of today to enable business?
Yeah, so I think with the investment of LLMs and AI, today, I don't want to say it, but it becomes a commodity. Everybody speaks about LLMs and AI, and it's good for us as business users, because we want to invest our time in what's important for us. Like, we don't want to invest our time in learning a new query language or create complex queries. We want to interact with the data and use the power of the machine to help us with the easy stuff, and help us to shorten the time that we want to analyze the data. So the use of AI to help us to find the insights of the data using a natural language, it's super critical. And today, many of those activities are kind of, again, blocked, or there is a long backlog to get to the data scientist organization, and they are dealing with only the top ask of the organization. And that means that the rest of the organization cannot get the fruits out of all this data. And kind of democratizing those capabilities, they're able to interact with the copilot in a natural language to get insights out of this data, even use AIs, which is AIs and machine learning of from the previous decades, algorithms like anomaly detections, and as you mentioned, like predictive maintenance. Those are critical for this kind of data. And I think those tools should be right front and center for capabilities of any platform that wants to cater to real time.
Perfect. I was going to address the elephant in the room, which was AI, and I'm glad you explained it through that particular context. So I definitely do see AI as a great enabler for such capabilities in such platforms, and I'm glad we were able to address that. And switching gears into one of the other challenges we spoke about earlier, how does one enable and foster a self-service data culture within an organization? It is easy to say again that it's all about data literacy, but can we talk about some pragmatic steps that can be taken to enable that? And how does technology play a role in that?
So I think there are two aspects here. I think it's the cultural aspect and the technological aspect. I think from the cultural aspect, it's important that organizations will be data driven, and it goes from top to the bottom. Like the CXOs of organization should be data driven. They should ask to be updated on what's going with the business in a timely manner. They need to make sure that they drive the organization with data, like that's the source of truth. And to do so, they need to make sure that everyone in the organization should be able to access data. Like if they're speaking about certain processes or certain performance KPIs in the organization, they need to make sure that everyone in the organization have visibility to that. They track the same, they use the same dashboard, they use the same single source of truth. And helping to do so will enable organizations to be data-driven and really democratize the data in the organization. So that's kind of on the cultural aspect. On the technological aspect, you need to make sure that you have the tools that enables that. You need to make sure that everyone in the organization have access to those streams of data. You need to make sure that everyone in the organization can get proper alerts of the data, or they have access to those automations that act on this kind of data. And that's a critical piece of the technological puzzle that we need to solve and provide a solution that everyone in the organization have access to this data. As I mentioned before, and most of the market solution today, this is kind of very siloed and bespoke solution. And Department A using different tools than Department B, because it's a high-skilled technology set and very fragmented market. It means that every department depends whom they hired, when they hired, they have bespoke solutions. But the goal is to have a software as a service solution that everyone organization can easily access and have visibility to this kind of data.
Fantastic. So one of the foremost objections to adopting a self-service data culture that we just spoke about is the strong need for data governance. How does one balance access with security and compliance? While we talk about democratizing access, that also brings in automatically the challenge about, hey, who has to have control, who has to have like the kind of limits on access to specific sets of data and all that. And this is what typically that would keep a data administrator or a data steward up at night, right? So how do we ensure that we maintain security and compliance on this journey towards data democratization?
So before kind of this role, I was part of the Power BI team, and I can share a bit of the anecdotes from many years back when Power BI launched, and there was a lot of push against this democratization of data, which Power BI led, and kind of just say on kind of my personal objective is to do the same level of democratization that Power BI did with the batch data. I want to do the same with the streaming and high granularity data. Kind of that's my goal in life. So doing the same analogy back from the batch and the Power BI days, and there was a lot of pushback from IT. Hey, like, do we really want to share this report with everyone in the organization? Like, how we'll monitor that? How we'll access that? And the quick question that I was asking, hey, how you do this today? Like having 50 spreadsheets that have different sizes of the data, is it better? Do you have data exploitation protection on this data? How you govern this today? And the answer was, in most cases, no. It's we have data silos that we don't govern. So it's better to have a single place where you have access to all this data, but you have also single governance on top of this data. And I think the fact that you give visibility and give access to people gives you also controls to control it. So you can have features like endorsement, where IT can say which streams of data are endorsed by the organization, they are certified. There is a governance, there is an end-to-end lineage of from where this specific stream of data is coming from, what is the downstream usage of the stream. And those tools give the central IT really power to make sure that from one hand, they enable the business to do what it's needed. They need to access the data, they can act on data generative side, but the central IT now have a central governance. They can see all the streams data, they can see the usage, the downstream usage, and now they have a better control and better governance than they had before.
Two things resonated very well with me in your response, which is one, the notion of a data hub, a centralized place where you can like pretty much get all your data together for more centralized data governance. I think that resonates very well with me. The other one is the notion of data lineage, understanding where the data came from, who touched it, what changes were made to it, what's the downstream usage and so forth. I think that's absolutely critical when it comes to data governance. So those two abilities are probably fundamental for a data architecture or a data platform that we choose when it comes to real-time data. So the other key requirement that I want to talk about is very much table stakes in today's data architectures, which is the ability to scale limitlessly, right? When you enable enterprise-wide real-time data access, this requirement becomes even more pertinent for the success of data democratization, because when you say everybody can access all this forms of data, but then data access by itself becomes slower, there is data latency introduced, data is no longer fresh anymore, then what is the point of real-time data anymore? So the ability to scale is absolutely critical. What are some of the components, in your opinion, that are necessary in a data platform that is designed for data democratization, but can also handle enterprise scale at ease?
So scale, it's a very important point for us and for me personally, because as I was speaking about the market fragmentation and different tools that provide, not all of them can operate at the right scale. When we're speaking about real-time intelligence, streaming data, and really organizations that want to really work on real-time data and they want to stream everything in the organization, it need to support a huge scale of data. And scale that I speak here is around petabytes a day of ingestion per customer or something like that, or hundreds of petabytes. And this is not a simple problem to solve. Even in Microsoft, we needed to build a very specific set of technological solutions to get to this scale that's needed to to serve Microsoft. And that's a very complex problem to solve. And today, I would say on the technological aspect, why many organizations a bit concerned about providing real time is about making sure that they can scale, Dinesh, as you said. Today, not all solutions can scale to the needs of the organizations, and we need to make sure that those products that serve those needs, they need to be able to ingest dozens of megabytes per second. They need to be able to handle petabytes and 100 petabytes of data a day. And they need to be able to return queries and generate insights in a fraction of a second on this all amount of data. So that's a key aspect for success. And I do think, going back to the question, like why it wasn't done before, why it's not yet heavily adopted, is also because of this technological gap of scale that in many products today, it's not an easy to build those solutions. And that's kind of where the hyperscalers of the world come in, because they have this experience from other products they've built. Again, I've worked at Google beforehand. If thinking about serving billions of users, you need to have those products. And because the market is fragmented, not all products today can provide this kind of solution. And scale, it's a big part of it, because we're speaking here about the high granularity data that comes in real time. And you need to generate insights in real time to be able to have automation that acts in real time. So we can give very high throughput and very high scale.
Very cool. So let's combine this into a technology recommendation. Let's bring it home, as they say. You lead one of the coolest products Microsoft has launched in recent years, Microsoft Real-Time Intelligence. Tell us about it, and how is it, related to Microsoft Fabric in the bigger scheme of things?
So Microsoft Real-Time Intelligence is an end-to-end solution for streaming and high granularity data. And if we take kind of one step back and look why, let's go to the problem today. The world is exploding with high granularity data. We need to have a solution that's able to collect on all this data in real time and near real time, and to be able to generate insights and act on this data. And that's kind of where the strength of Microsoft and the technological stacks that it has have those products from the Azure world. However, there were platform as a service solutions. You need to be a developer to be able to use them. And where it comes to the world of Fabric, it's a software as a service solution. So it's an end-to-end solution that caters to the business users, but also to the data engineers and data scientists. But it provides well-suited experiences and democratization of data, which needed everyone in the organization. So it provided an end-to-end solution to be able easily to ingest all the streaming data with set of pre-built connectors, cross-cloud to on-prem, and to Microsoft Social. So it's easily to bring all this data in. But the second thing is to provide visibility across the organizations. Once streaming data was brought in, everyone in the organization with the right governance and oversight by centrality, everyone can see this data. So you don't need to bring it twice, 3 times, 50 times. Once you brought it once, everybody can have visibility to that with the proper access control, etc. So now you're enabling many users in the organization to act on this data. And the second level of acting on this data is tools that enables business users to interact with this data with a natural language, the use of copilots, and also the use of AI to generate actionable insights that you can easily set alerts and get anomaly and AI-inspired actions on this data. And last but not least, it has the ability to act and query all this data. It's powered by a very powerful engine, Event House, that allows you to really query petabytes of data, and today it holds more than exabytes of data across Microsoft in a month. So you can imagine what amount of data, and gives you answers in a fraction of a second on top of this data. And that's kind of where Fabric Real-Time Intelligence comes in. It's really democratize this use of this kind of data across all organizations with a very powerful tools that is wrapped up for business users that can act on this data.
So typically when I talk about real-time solutions, there is this pattern of the ability to ingest real-time data, the ability to process real-time data, and then the ability to analyze real-time data. I think you covered pretty much all of it. Let's make sure that you have addressed like all the various components of Microsoft Real-Time Intelligence. So you spoke about connectors, which help you with like the ability to ingest real-time data from various sources. But then I'm not sure if I heard you talk about the data hub capabilities of Microsoft Real-Time.
Yeah. So as part of Real-Time Intelligence, we have a few components, and I can maybe speak in a few seconds about each one of them, kind of what they bring to the table.
Sure.
So event stream in Real-Time Intelligence is the single kind of place of bringing all your streaming data into it. It's powered by dozens of out-of-the-box connectors that allows you to bring streaming data from Kafka sources, from Confluent, from GCP, from an AWS Kinesis in Microsoft and cross-cloud. And with few clicks of a button, you can easily bring your streaming data into Fabric. And the next place is the Real-Time Hub, which is the central place for all your streaming data. Like it's your place for all your data in motion. And that's where the place where the business users and the data engineers come all together into one place, where from one end they bring this data in, and now they have visibility, and the data engineers can govern it, provide the proper endorsements and the proper certifications and the proper oversight for this data, and they can look at the lineage of this data. But from the other hand, also the business users can find all those streams data, and they can easily take the next action on top of this data. And that's where kind of two set of new components come in. One is the Event House that I mentioned briefly, which is a powerful database engine that allows you to query, analyze, and do investigation on all this data. And it can hold petabytes of data easily, high granularity data, structured, semi-structured, non-structured at all. And supports a powerful query language called KQL, but you don't need to know this query language. It supports Copilot, and you can use a natural language easily to query this data, interact with data. But because I said about democratization, working with business users, it has also visual exploration of data. So very simple UI experience, how you can interact, slide this data, interact with this data, the same kind of democratization that we did with Power BI, we were doing with high granularity data. And last but not least is Data Activator, which is a powerful rule engine that allows you to set rules on the data and take an action. So you can set different rules and threshold, or use AI to help you to generate anomalies, to detect anomalies of the data, and then you can act on this data. You can take an action of like getting a Teams message or an email, or it also integrates with Power Automate. There is 300 plus connectors from the whole of the ecosystem, so you can use ServiceNow or whatever other workflow process that you want, and then you can act on the data. So this kind of provides a true end-to-end solution from ingesting, central governance of the data, visibility of the data, analyze and act on this data.
Thank you, Isaac. I think that laid it out very well in terms of the various components of Microsoft Real-Time Intelligence and how it helps enable real-time data democratization within an organization. Appreciate the response. So let's talk about some of your coolest customers that are using Microsoft Real-Time Intelligence today. What are they using it for, and what benefits have they seen so far?
So I will pick a few. There's many, but all are favorite, as they say. I love all my kids equally, but a few that I think will excite maybe our listeners. One of them is Porsche Denner Motorsports. They run the Brazil Porsche competition, and they use real-time intelligence to really analyze all the hundreds of sensors of data that coming from the cars. And they need to act in real time, like every second counts, like all the cars finish within 10 seconds of each other. So be able to act in real time, to collect those hundreds of sources in real time, to generate insights and give instructions to the driver in real time shows the power of the platform. So that's kind of one of the exciting which would make sense. Real-time car, motorsports car makes sense. But maybe something a different kind of industry that I would like to highlight is Melbourne airports. They're using real-time intelligence to use this to optimize the customer experiences at the airport, gate changes and airport operations. And they use real-time intelligence to benefit the users of the airport, which is the end customer benefit, but it saves them a lot of time and improve customer satisfaction. And maybe last but not least, kind of share a quick story that shows the power of specifically of Fabric Real-Time Intelligence, which is 1NZ, the largest telecom in New Zealand. They had a problem of call wait times in their support center, and they used Power BI before, and the business users, as we mentioned, in the call center wanted to optimize that, and they heard about Fabric, they heard about real-time intelligence. And in a matter of few weeks, they were able to build an end-to-end solution to optimize the call center. So they analyze all the waiting calls, they analyze the sentiment, and they can easily change the priority and reroute calls to optimize. And they were able to save more than 30% of the wait call times for the end users. And this is a solution that was built by the business users, by the citizen developers organization, and delivered impact immediately in a matter of few weeks. So that's kind of shows the power, but also the potential for other verticals of the industries, enabling their citizens, developers, the business users to act on this data, how impact it could be for their organizations.
A true example of data democratization that we've been talking about so far. So great use cases, great examples. Thank you so much. So let's bring it to close. From your vantage point, what is your recommendation for organizations considering democratization of real-time data across their enterprise? How should they start with Microsoft Real-Time Intelligence?
So first of all, don't be afraid. It's an easy. it's easy, and it's intuitive tools. And go ahead and try. There's a free trial. For 90 days. We provide the free capacity for you to try and experience the product. There's a great documentation that you can use online, how to use it, and also provide us feedback. Again, one of the things that I love to spend my time and invest in is to listen to customer feedback. So really go ahead, try. It's for free. There is 90 days trial. You get a value of dozens of thousands of dollars a month that we provide for more than 90 days for you to try it out. It's really easy to try. You can easily bring your data in. You can see the data, and you can use, even if you're a business user, you can activate it. So go ahead and try, and I think you won't be disappointed. And if you have feedback, we're more than welcome to hear it.
Thank you, Itzhak. So you heard it, everybody that came in to join us on this webinar today. Thank you so much. I hope you got a sense for what data democratization means today. Don't let data silos, data fiefdoms, stop you from getting true value out of your real-time data that can truly propel your organizations into the next phase of growth and development. Adopt Microsoft Real-Time Intelligence a platform that can truly enable you for data democratization. You heard all the different features and capabilities of what this platform can enable you with. And as Itzhak said, 90-day trial, free trial. So go ahead and try it out and let us know what you think. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you, Itzhak, for all your great insights about data democratization.
Thank you, Dinesh. It was a pleasure.